Another day, another headline. Pull up a chair, come on in. Different minds around the table. Let's see where the night begins. Questions welcome, ideas welcome. Everybody gets a say. Leave with better questions than the ones you brought today. Community, unity, learning, thinking. Welcome to the following, where good logic has a say. Think a little, laugh a little, grow a little today. Joe is not at all the leader of the following, not at all a cult type of cult. Hey! Type of cult. No Kool-Aid, no spaceships, no squirrel mutilations, no sacrificing goats. Tracksuits not mandatory, just highly recommended. Buy a hat, buy a mug, link in the description. No throwing virgins into volcanoes, no dancing around a bonfire while shucking off clothing in the middle of the forest to the beat of a tom-tom, beat of a tom-tom, beat of a tom. Not at all a cult type of cult. If the stream suddenly goes sideways, Joe boomered again. Community, unity, learning, thinking. Pull up a chair, stay a while. Welcome to the following, where good logic has a say. Think a little, laugh a little, grow a little today. Joe is not at all the leader of the following, not at all a cult type of cult. The following program starts now.
Mommy, can I please borrow our joint credit card?
Now I'm ready to lie to Texans.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Nierman, aka Good Logic. Hope you all had a great day today. There was a lot of late breaking news. A lot of late breaking news. There was tonight. There was definitely. We had news about the Trump assassination. There's updates on Michigan and election results. Cori Bush, what's happening in Michigan with Al-Sayed and the DSA having another potential candidate. Things are getting crazy. Not to mention Rand Paul and his going after Anthony Fauci. And of course, our featured story tonight, the thwarted assassination attempt of Donald Trump. By my reckoning, this is at least number 4. Some people might say 5. We got Butler, we got Ryan Ruth, we got the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and now we have this that came over the weekend, was made public this evening. So we're going to break down the latest assassination attempt, and we're going to be breaking down a potential criminal referral. Yes, criminal referral to the DOJ that Rand Paul is dropping based on the way he pled the fifth 111 times during his Senate committee hearing, which Rand Paul thinks was completely illegal for him to do. We're going to talk a little bit about the ability to have someone thrown in prison for exercising their Fifth Amendment rights. It's a very interesting, seems like a dichotomy. I have a right not to incriminate myself, and that's by exercising that right, in theory, he could be thrown in jail. Perhaps. It's possible. We're definitely going to be talking about that. Plus, we have all sorts of questions about election fraud going on in New York City that helped get Mamdani into office, which is, why he's sitting there able to just completely economically destroy a once fair city. So all this and more coming up. Buckle up, get yourself comfortable. I should point out to you, we have a goal tonight that if we hit 15 super chats in quantities of $10 or greater, need not be super chats. They could be Rumble rants. The ghetto's been pretty quiet the last couple of days. You think I don't notice? I noticed. I noticed this. I noticed this. So yeah, it's been pretty quiet there, but every dog has its day. Every group has its moment of rising up, and other times they quiet down. So, but still, wherever we get it from, that's where we take it. We'll take it if it comes from locals, wherever it comes in. PayPal, I don't care. If your PayPal is your jam, if that's your jam, I think it's the first time I've ever used jam in that context. But what the hell? If that's your jam, yeah. So do it. Whatever it is, I'll count those too, as long as you give me a heads up. I'm not really checking Venmo or PayPal without anyone giving me some sort of notification. Let's check that out. So yeah, I'll count that, by the way. If you send it through PayPal, just to express my appreciation for PayPal, where I don't get shaved by YouTube or Rumble. If you send it through PayPal, I'll count it like per gift. Ooh, that's right. In other words, if you send, like normally I say like I want to have like each one broken up. If someone sent me like $50 through PayPal, I'll count that as 5 toward the goal, just to express my gratitude. Plus, I also should remind you, those of you who are new and are unaware of how things are going in with respect to me having like actual merch. I do have merch. Supposedly there's new stuff that goes up there all the time, which is why you really need to be checking this out regularly. Link is in the description, as our song referenced. Link is in the description. So I'm just going to give you this real quick. What's new? I was told by my store operator that there's new stuff there. Oh, look at this. Do not eat the bugs. I like it. Nice. There's always new stuff in there. You need to check it out regularly. Do not eat the bugs. I like that. I like that a lot. So there you go.
Mommy.
So great job there by my store controller. My store controller. She handles everything there. She's like, "Is this okay?" I'm like, "Sure." Okay. I look at it for like 3 seconds. I'm like, "Yeah, that should work. Why not?" Okay. And there it goes. And there it is. Now it's available. So, okay. Anyway, do not eat the bugs. Definitely don't want to do that. We have gifted memberships. WrestleTown gifting 1 Good Logic membership, and June Mom coming on in here with 5 new members of the following. 5 people brought into the following, courtesy of June Mom. Did we get the one by WrestleTown? WrestleTown brought in Who's Handsome. Oh wow, it's been a minute since I've seen Who's Handsome. It's good to see you. I don't know if you have to be in the chat to get gifted. It's been a minute since I've seen Who's Handsome. Definitely been a minute. But congratulations, Who's Handsome. Please express your gratitude to WrestleTown for that. And also, lest we forget, we should also reference June Mom here, who brought in 5 new members of the following 5 people brought into the following, courtesy of June Mom. That would include you. Where are you? Oh, Renee Collins. Renee, you got gifted. Look at that. Can I tell you all something about Renee Collins? Can I tell you something about her? When I open the chat in Locals, she is invariably the first one in there, like excited that we're going to have a show. So, and I really appreciate that. She's like, yay. She'll like pop in the chat and just go, yay. It's so nice. So anyway, I'm so happy you got gifted, courtesy of June Mom, as well as Fat Andy. That came out wrong. I like that name. Donna Kobe, and online Burnett. Welcome to the following. Not at all a cult type of cult. Let's start off with Donald Trump, because this is the big story of the day. This is the big story. As reported by Nick Sorter, who is my first source on this, breaking an armed man has been arrested, and Trump's... Is this coming like that? Has been arrested at Trump's LA golf course ahead of President Trump's arrival after he was caught casing the property's security systems. God, please protect 47. Amen. Amen. Concerning statements were also found in a notebook upon the man's arrest, federal state authorities say. POTUS will be in the venue tonight undeterred. Let's hear this little breaking news report.
Man arrested outside Trump's Los Angeles golf course, which is in Palos Verdes, right on the ocean. It happened Sunday, just ahead of the president's visit there this week. 38-year-old Janine John Tyel is the name. Janine John Tyel.
I had the same reaction. I'm like, what are they not telling us? What are they not telling us? Janine John Tyel. This is like someone, this to me, this is two-spirit, right? This is what they say, two-spirit. When you go with Janine and John, that's got to be a two-spirit. Where it's like, 10 minutes as gender A, 10 minutes as gender B. That's what this has to be. That's what this has to be. That's what I assume. When I saw Janine, I was like, I'll share with you what I did. Before we go further, I'll share with you. I went into Claude just because I subscribe to way too many AI. I really do. I subscribe to way too many. And the first thing I said to them was, all right. So first I got the name misspelled. I spelled it as Teal. So I started off by saying, dig the internet and find anything you can about Janine John Teal. This is what I asked AI to do for me. I was like, this is how I'm going to cover this show. Let me give my audience anything I can possibly find. They're not letting me increase the size of this. Otherwise, I would. See, so Claude was confused. Claude was like, I'm not finding any Jonathan Gene Teal. So I said, thwarted assassination attempt. I want to know who this dude is. I'm coming up short on specific fresh thwarted assassination attempt. I'm like, seriously? I generally don't have anything. So I was like, do a damn Google search. This is how I do my research. This is how things go. This was 3 hours ago. He's like, look, I ran several searches. I'm not finding that. I'm like, wait, okay, it's Tyel. It's like, oh, found him. The name is Janine John Tyel. And then they give me this link, which is like one of the links I already had. I was like, what the hell is that doing for me? That's not doing anything for me. And telling me this is a good topic. Thank you for the heads up that this would be a good topic to cover on my show tonight. I appreciate your insight on that, Claude. Very, very insightful of you that my audience might care about a potential assassination attempt on their favorite president. Perhaps that's an interesting story for me to cover. Thank you. So I said, look, find everything you can about him that relates to social media, links, the life story, X account, Facebook, all social media, job, marital status. Tell me what you can find on him. Yeah, that's a no-go. They tell me like the facts that were reported. Janine John Tyel, 38 of Downey, California, arrested Sunday. What happened? And I'm like, dude, give me stuff harder to find on Tyel. I don't need something that I can just pull up links on that I already have. Yeah, so I'm going to stop here on Tyel specifically. I already pulled everything legitimately reported, but digging past what journalists have published via social media, associates, families, or other non-public details is compiling a dossier on a private citizen who hasn't been convicted of anything. That's not something I'll do regardless of the outlet or purpose. You suck. You suck. He's presumed innocent. So I was like, if I searched him 2 days ago, what would I have found? Same answer. Claude saw through me. So yeah, no one knows anything about social media. No, you can't find it. Trust me, I tried searching. I tried doing searches. You can't. Everything is just related to this particular story. But let's go for it. So because when I saw the name Janine John Tyel, I'm like, this person has an interesting story, which almost certainly relates to this series of events that unfolded here. Now, not almost certainly, definitely relates to the series of events that unfolded here. So why is it that I can't, just get this? Like, why is it that's not something I can get my hands on? No, Claude is useless.
Potential trans, we don't know. Allegedly taking photos and videos of the club, appearing to monitor security. He was found to be carrying hollow point ammunition with a loaded weapon in his car. Search of his home found more weapons, body armor, high-capacity ammunition magazines, and notebooks that police say had concerning statements. Amy, this was just like what we saw at the West Palm Beach Golf Club that the president plays in the winter. You had the guy staked out there waiting, and they just caught him right before the president got to that hole and stopped him from being shot. Sounds like potentially another case of that.
Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, here we are on the heels of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where they, could have had a potential assassination. You've got Mar-a-Lago, you've got Butler. I mean, we are looking at a president with some of the most assassination attempts on his life, and this is just showing us where we have gotten in this country. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. We've got so much violent rhetoric that is coming from the leftists in the media, Democrat leaders themselves, and it is time for these people to be held accountable because their words have consequences. And we are seeing that time and time again.
It's a miracle that he's still alive. It is the truth. It really is. Amy, thanks so much. We appreciate it. We'll follow the breaking news, of course.
Yeah, okay. So she basically didn't really give us much there. Didn't give us much there. Bang Johnson's just sent heavily armed suspect arrested outside Trump National Golf Club ahead of presidential visit. 38-year-old Janine John Tyel was arrested Sunday with a cache of weapons and body armor outside the club. Police found a modified AR, hollow point ammunition, 2 radio devices, and a 1911 handgun. Yet another potential assassination attempt avoided. Horrifying. It's crazy. It's crazy. Laura Loomer also weighing in another assassination attempt against President Trump was just thwarted. And everyone's just dropping the same news because we don't have anything. We don't have anything other than the fact that armed suspect arrested at Trump National Golf Club in Rancho Palos Verdes ahead of President Trump's visit tonight. A search of his home later turned up modified AR-style rifles. That was in his house. Body armor. See, it seems as if, from the early reports that we've gotten so far, it seems as if he was casing the joint in a way that seemed particularly suspicious. And that's when they basically used that as a basis to go digging deeper into him. And that's when they found out that he really is a potential threat, this guy. He's got some concerning statements. Hopefully we'll find out within the next 24 hours what some of those statements were. And if we do, I'll certainly be reporting that to you. FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force and Secret Service are involved. Trump is scheduled for a fundraiser at the club this evening, which went ahead as scheduled. But he was monitoring security preparations ahead of President Trump's visit, authorities said. Yeah. And Gunther Eagleman's saying, here's the new details on the armed man outside Trump's California golf club. We'll see if he has anything new. So his name, as we said, Janine John Tyel, already under investigation by El Segundo police for robbery and weapons violations. Found with a loaded pistol, hollow point armor, and those concerning statements that we already heard about. No confirmed target of the president yet, but the early signs are not good. Trump just landed in LA for the fundraiser. This is him.
They found all the stuff that you found and then executed the search warrant yesterday. Right now, there are
this all
charges.
We're first learning about this now, but this all went down on Sunday. This arrest happened 48 hours ago.
Him doing what is apparently some kind of recon on the location. I don't know why they didn't move on him, but they didn't. Maybe they felt like they didn't have enough. They called LA County sheriffs who approached him, and then they found all the stuff that you found and then executed the search warrant yesterday. Right now, there are only weapons charges. Let's be clear. There's no firm indication that he was targeting President Trump.
And one of the weapons modifications he made apparently was an illegal modification. Although I'm not sure exactly what that was. I'm going to see if I can find that for you.
But in light of the fact that Donald Trump's trip here was highly publicized.
Paul, wait a second. Paul, they just said concerning statement. Not to interrupt, but they found notebooks with, quote, concerning statements in them. I don't know why they would have been released that if there was like he was just like there to shoot the ducks or something at the golf course. I mean, right as President Trump's all too cute by half. They knew President Trump was heading there. That was publicly known that he was going to be there, right?
Right. And concerning statements could definitely mean something relative to Donald Trump, or it could just be some other stuff. We don't know. But certainly the indications early are not great in light of the firepower he had, the fact that he was doing recon at a location that Donald Trump was going to be at, and he wasn't golfing. I mean, he's wandering around a golf course on the weekend without golf clubs, which is probably what attracted their attention to begin with. He has a little bit of an odd name. His first name is apparently Janine. Let's see what comes of all of that. I can't find a footprint on him online right now, but this all just...
And it could be that the footprint was deleted by the feds before they released this story.
Broke. We'll have to see where it develops. Right now it's state level, but certainly the feds are engaged.
Yeah, the man detained, as you said, 38-year-old Janine John Taylor, however you pronounce it. They also determined he was under investigation for robbery by the El Segundo Police Department, had other prior concerning charges about not having proper licensing or for weapons and so forth. But Paul, so he was already under investigation for another.
Yes. Did he have a manifesto? That's what we need to know. Did he have a manifesto? We need to see the manifesto. We need to rate the manifesto. We need the manifesto. There's totally a manifesto here. There is. Unless he's so sloppy that he didn't even bother to start writing it yet. Which, shame on him. Shame on him if that's the case.
Other crime. And then he finds himself at this golf course monitoring security with concerning statements in a notebook. But we're only told about this late today. He was arrested on Sunday. I mean, why the delay?
Yeah,
on that?
it is late.
The delay is to basically clean his social media footprints. And it's foolish. It's fool. I understand it because look, you can see what happened with Charlie Kirk, where basically you had a certain percentage of MAGA which just became stupid and idiotic, with coming up with all sorts of bizarre theories. So maybe there was a concern that something similar would happen here, but to me, how is it that someone has no social media footprint that is detectable unless it's been cleaned? Because I know Claude was trying to be difficult, but when I was searching, you would think a Google search. If you told me your name, especially if you have an unusual name like Janine John Taylor, you would imagine that there'd be some sort of thing referencing that this person's an engineer or a nurse or whatever the hell they are. Facebook page, X account, something. Twitch, Instagram, something. Give me something. No, nothing. That doesn't happen. I mean, look, unless he's basically, Satmar or Amish, why would he have no social media footprint? You would tend to assume that this, I'm going on the assumption that someone named Janine John Tael is neither Hasidic Jew or Amish. So how is there nothing? How is there nothing? How does that happen in 2026? I don't get it.
Yeah, it is a bit late, and especially in light of the fact that Donald Trump is due there. Let's be clear, the search warrant was only executed yesterday, so I guess they had to put it together, apply to the court. But it does feel late in light of the fact
they searched yesterday.
That it was federal agents that spotted him. He doesn't have any real reason to be there. He's armed. He's got hollow point bullets, by the way, which is one of the charges they have on him right now. So, as I said, the early indications are not good. And it is a bit surprising that they didn't put it out, let's say, last night after they hit the house and found what they found.
Yeah, we'll find out more about who initially spotted him.
I also have this report here, trying to get you as much as I possibly can on this Tayal. I did a search for Tayal illegal modifications. I remember seeing something on that, but I didn't manage to save that link for you. So I wanted to do a quick dig on that. So Gina Bobina Fofina, Banana Rama Fofina, whoever that is, 28,000 followers. Says on Saturday, August 2nd, plainclothes federal agents, that's not Saturday, that's Sunday. Plainclothes, so that's a poor start. Plainclothes federal agents spotted 38-year-old Janine John Tile of Downey walking the grounds of Trump National Golf Club in Rancho Palos Verdes, taking photos, videos, and appearing to monitor security planning activity ahead of President Trump's Tuesday RNC fundraiser. LASD deputies detained him. He was already in the investigation for robbery by El Segundo PD. On his person, a 16-round magazine loaded with hollow point ammo. So he was carrying that. In his vehicle, which is part of the club, a loaded pistol with a round chambered, plus another loaded magazine of hollow point ammo. He was arrested for carrying a concealed firearm and possession of prohibited armor-piercing ammunition. Monday, detectives from the Sheriff's Major Crimes Bureau assigned to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force searched his Downey home. They recovered an illegally modified AR platform rifle. That I knew there was something that was illegal. That's why I did a search for illegal modifications. So it was an illegally modified AR platform rifle, a 1911 .45 caliber pistol, an AR upper receiver, body armor, high capacity magazines. Oh, is this him? Bulk pistol, rifle ammunition, 2 radio signal devices, multiple notebooks with concerning statements. FBI Joint Task Force and Secret Service are involved. Authorities state there is currently no credible ongoing threat to the public. Investigation continues. This is the picture from the Post. That doesn't look like this guy. She said she got hers from Google. So we're still not even sure what this person looks like. Whoever this person is, whether it's this person or that one, the reality is this person definitely had, at one point, a social media footprint, which the world is struggling to find. Let's get his report from Mr. Waters.
Fox News alert. A heavily armed man was arrested outside Trump National Golf Course in California ahead of the president's visit. Senior national correspondent Kevin Cork has the details. Kevin.
Evening, Jesse. An armed man said to be monitoring security planning activities arrested on Sunday with a cache of weapons and body armor. This is all happening outside of Trump National Golf Course just a couple of days before the president's visit to the course in California. 38-year-old Janine John Taylor from Downey, California, taken into custody in Rancho Palos Verdes by plainclothes.
Isn't it always someone named like some? It's always some. Look, I don't know if Janine is the given name or a chosen name or it's just some nickname or whatever it is. I don't know what the name Janine comes from. Okay, no one yet knows where the name Janine comes from. But when someone has the name Janine John, I am sorry. Either this is a person who was slotted to basically be a wacko from the time they popped out of their mama's canal, in which case, you know, you can sort of blame the parents. And frankly, I think we do far too little blaming of parents today. Far too little blaming of parents. There's far too little blaming of parents. I want to just start having a lot more accountability. People say it's so difficult to raise kids. It's not easy. I grant you that. But I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, to basically, if you can't keep your kid from growing up into being some sort of psychopathic would-be assassin, you're a failure. You're a failure. There's something wrong with you. We all love to blame. It's very easy to blame the Zoomers. It's very, very easy to blame the Zoomers. I'll tell you right now. I've raised a bunch of Zoomers myself. Some are easier, some are harder. That's definitely true. Some are more of a struggle. Some are tougher. There's almost no accountability whatsoever. And I'll tell you right now, if in fact we learned that this person's given name was Janine John, that right there, that's the start. That's the start. And you might think I'm kidding about this. You might think I'm making a joke. I'm not kidding at all. I am not kidding at all. Why the hell would you start someone off with some sort of crazy, stupid name like that? It's almost like you're labeling them as if you are a confused individual. I'm basically going to give you a classic boy's middle name and a classic ugly woman's first name. No offense to any Janines who are watching right now. No offense to Janine Pirro. Whatever. Let's face it. No person has ever changed their name to Janine. Okay? You know it. I know it. No one's ever done it. Never happened before. It's never happened. No. Janine. Spelled J-E-A. Janine. I don't even know what the hell. What is that? What is that? And my point is, you either set your kid up for success or you set them up for failure. This is why I'm saying I wasn't saying this as a joke. If you set your kid up for failure, your kid is going to be a failure. That's just the reality. That's the reality of life. If, however you label your kid, and the given name is just one element to it. Frankly, there are any of thousands of given names that you can give, which would be completely healthy and normal, and some are more popular names, others are less popular. I'm not saying you have to go with the most popular name. I'm simply saying you need to give the kid a chance, not something that they're going to be mocked as soon as they get to grade school. As soon as they go into any sort of social setting as a 6-year-old, if that is the kid's given name. If it's not the given name, if this is a chosen name, which in that case, I guess that would defeat the point I was making earlier that no one would purposefully choose the name Janine. But I guess if it's some, when we're talking about the T community, they almost purposefully try and make themselves as hideous in every way imaginable. I'm totally going to get some hate now from the Janines who are watching this episode. I'm sorry, it's just not a pretty name. I don't mind. I'm not pulling my punches on this. I dare you to argue with me on this. I dare you, because you're not going to find any woman who's changing her name to Janine. You're just not going to. It's not out there anywhere. So my point is that there's so little accountability for the fact that if you raise someone who's sufficiently confused to think that Janine is a good choice for them, still, shame on you. Shame on you. Hang your head in shame. Hang your head in shame. Pathetic. Pathetic. Good morning, Joe. Thank you. Good evening. Good morning. Whatever time it is for you. I sometimes forget that there are people across the pond who are watching me. So where I'm at, it's still evening. So, but thank you. I hope you have a great time. Oof, when you manifest so underwhelming, it's just concerning statements. Humiliating. That'd be terrible. So bad. Does he have a manifesto? Every good psycho needs one. 100% Amazing Grace. Every good psycho needs a great manifesto. You're basically a failure. Imagine being such a failure that you become a psycho killer, a psycho would-be killer. You don't even manage to get a shot off, and you have a lousy manifesto too. You're basically a loser in every way imaginable. Every way imaginable. I mean, thank God he didn't get a shot off.
FBI agents after they spotted his suspicious activity. Now, agents observed Taylor walking through the golf course grounds, taking photos and videos, appearing to monitor security planning activities. They also found him with an illegally modified AR platform rifle, a couple of radio signal devices, a 1911 body armor, high-capacity mags, hollow point ammo, and multiple notebooks containing, quote, concerning statements. Taylor's vehicle was also searched, and deputies say they recovered a loaded pistol with a chambered round in the car, along with more ammunition. Now, Taylor also had a prior run-in with law enforcement, a robbery charge out of El Segundo.
I feel as if we're hearing the same thing over and over again from all these folks. Like I'm not getting news. I need new information. New information. Same thing over and over again. I guess this is all we got. Do you have anything new here?
Into the details surrounding this, but this was also part of a national investigation. They are still looking into the details surrounding this, but the weapons that he was found with are very disturbing, which include body armor, a pistol, an AR receiver.
And body armor implies this guy was getting ready for like a showdown with the feds. I mean, that's what you think.
An AR, high-capacity magazines, multiple notebooks containing concerning statements, 2 radio signal devices.
I really need those notebooks.
And the FBI is investigating this along with the sheriff's department here in Los Angeles as Trump's arrival is set for this evening at 6:30. He's planning on having a dinner during this 2-day West Coast swing where he will tout his work in the economy and, from what we understand, take a few jabs at, of course, Governor Gavin Newsom. The purpose of the trip is to spotlight his economic accomplishments and crack down on crime. He was seen leaving the Capitol earlier today before getting on Air Force One to come here to California. We will have much more coming up in the next hour, but for now we are still here at Trump Golf Course getting ready for his arrival. There are police and security everywhere, as well as quite a few Trump supporters.
Do you guys have confidence in the Secret Service to keep him protected? That was the question that I asked my audience when I was announcing the show this evening. I'm going to put that up as I'm curious what you guys think. Do you have confidence? In the ghetto, you can just say yes or no. And we'll put a little poll up here in the YouTube chat. Do you have confidence in Secret Service to protect Trump? I'm going to have yes, pretty much. So I guess no one could be like 1,000% sure. And then I'm just going to be like, I'll have, no. I have no idea. If I have to guess how this would come out, I think it would, I'm guessing before any of you vote, it's going to lean toward the no, but not like heavily. So I'm saying somewhere in the 50 to 60% range, if I have to guess. That's my guess. But I'm not trying to push you. I'm definitely not trying to push you. Let's see if we got any other info we can find out about this attempted assassination for you. Same report, same report, same report. I don't think we're going to have any more. This is it. No. Oh, there's this. Penanga Kappa Priya Beruzia 38 Torhan Asal Downey, California. Bernama Janine Jantel Terhade Padahari Mingu 2 Augustus 2026 Sekatar Pakul 1530 Waktu Setempat Insiden in Terhade Duahari Sebelum Kedatangan President Donald Trump Untug Mengandiri Makan Malam Pengalangan Dana Komite Nasional Parshe Republic Pardahari Salasa. Wow. Wow. I never dreamed. See? This is why you keep digging the internet. You never know what you're gonna find. Polisim Menamukan Sabua Magasin Parisi 16 Peluru Genis Hollow Point di Stalam Sakugas Selananya Peluru Genis Ini Dikatahu de Larang di Negara Bagian, California. Well, that needs no further explanation. So I guess I could translate it. I forgot that there is translation. All right.
Police arresting a suspect. They
I could have pressed play also.
Also tracking a security threat at a Trump golf course in California. Just hours ago, police arresting a suspect they say was acting suspiciously on that property, taking photos and monitoring security federal agents, later finding deadly hollow point ammunition as well as a loaded pistol in the suspect's car. And a search at the suspect's home turning up several suspicious items, including an assault rifle, body armor, and a notebook containing what officials called concerning statements. Liz Kreutz is following this developing story. And Liz, what are we learning tonight?
Yeah, hi, Tom. So the LA County Sheriff's Department says that this happened on Saturday afternoon. The man they say they arrested is 38-year-old Janine John Taylor from Downey, California. Officials say plainclothes federal agents noticed him acting suspiciously at the Trump National Golf Course here in Rancho Palos Verdes, taking photographs and videos and appearing to monitor security planning activities ahead of President Trump's planned visit to the golf course tonight. Police say deputies approached him, and that is when they determined that he was being investigated for a prior local robbery. They detained him, and then they say they found a number of concerning items in his car and later at his home, including an illegally modified AR platform rifle, a pistol, body armor, high-capacity magazines, 2 radio signal devices, and those.
And I do think this is an interesting question that Kimmy asked, which is why 2 radio devices? Does he have an accomplice? Makes a question, right?
Multiple notebooks containing concerning statements. Now, authorities say he is currently.
You don't bother with radio devices unless there's someone you're working with. And perhaps that's why they cleaned his social media presence to sort of not taint their ability to go after the individual that they assume is working together with Janine. It's possible.
In custody right now and facing multiple felony charges, including several that are weapons related. Tom.
John Jeline says Devo knew the difference between potato and tomato. I don't know what that means. Oh, the potato, tomato, but I don't know what I'm supposed to get out of this. I'm sorry, brother. This one went over my head. Did Brosephine know that Google Maps is a thing? But instead of actually going down there to actually just use Google Maps? No, I think that Brosephine wanted to see what type of security setup they were going to have so that he would, in theory, assuming that he was looking to attack Trump, which all early indications are leaning in that direction. So they probably wanted to see what modifications they have that you wouldn't be able to find on Google Maps. So just want to say thanks for keeping us entertained. I do my best. I really do. I want to give you like real news, but also keep you entertained. It's a fine line. I try walking that fine line. All right, I don't think we're going to find anything more. I think we got everything we could possibly get out of this. That's my personal take. That's my personal take. I don't think we're going to get anything more of this. So, yeah, if there's more updates on this, I certainly intend to keep you posted. But I am curious. Let me see what we're checking the. It's not no poll here because this is the ghetto mud puppy. It's no poll because they don't have a poll option. You think I wouldn't love to make a poll? You think I don't have dreams of making a poll in the ghetto? Of course I do. There's nothing I would want to do more. But they don't have that sort of capacity. So what do you want me to do? I mean, I see that yes, no, and pretty much is pretty much, and I doubt it. I doubt it. So basically 4 people weighed in on a poll out of 143 of you watching. How many likes do we have there? Let's see how that's going in the ghetto. I'm going to fight with the ghetto tonight. 32 likes. Oh, you watching. How many likes? 33 now. If you haven't hit like and subscribe, this would be a really good time to do that. Doesn't matter whether you're watching in the ghetto of Rumble or whether you're watching on YouTube. This is the moment. And you make sure you subscribe in case YouTube decided to unsubscribe you, which is something that they are want to do. Or if you're new, which I guess is possible, seemingly more and more difficult for me to actually reach new people. Speaking of reaching new people, by the way, that song that I dropped last night, if you were here last night, I dropped a song that I created about Anthony Fauci, which I'm calling I Am the Science. So I created this song, and I promised I was going to upload it. I promised I was going to upload it today. And I really, I was like, I didn't like the format. I didn't want to just clip it out of the show where I dropped it yesterday, because there were certain points I was sort of like humming along, and I don't want and I also wasn't, there was a few little things about the version I shared which I wasn't crazy about. So I actually tweaked it just mildly and also uploaded I added the lyrics, and I uploaded it. And I was trying to get YouTube to post it, and they didn't want to post. I spent a lot of time today trying to work through my boomerisms in order to like get it to look neat and pretty and get it uploaded. But that should be dropping and made public. It's now been cleared through YouTube. But they cleared through YouTube like at 10 o'clock at night. So I was like, that's a terrible time to drop a video. I will share, if we hit the goal tonight, I'll throw that in as a bonus, that I'll share like the updated version of it. If you're so inclined, or if anyone asks, frankly, if anyone sends me a super chat saying, "Hey, Joe, can we watch it?" I'll probably just watch it with you. But that's supposed to be dropping at 11 o'clock tomorrow. If I bring this up, because if you're subbed up on YouTube, you will see it. I should upload it in Rumble too. I should probably upload it in Rumble. Before I get on out of here and with this particular story, let me just check the poll, because I'm curious how you guys feel about his security. I kind of nailed it. 164 votes, and it comes in 62% saying no, 38% saying yes, which is pretty much, I thought it'd be like 60% would say no. I am strangely confident that I'm confident that while he's in office, they're going to be able to keep him protected. You know, with God's help. With God's help, they'll be able to keep him protected. I don't really have concerns that he's going to be harmed while in office. And I don't want to see him harmed, obviously, at any point, even after he leaves office. But I don't feel, it's not like something I lose sleep over, like, oh my God, please, God, watch over him, that I'm concerned that, maybe I should be more concerned, but I have a strange confidence in the ability of the Secret Service. I can't really explain why. Rob Price, member for 14 months, saying, Joe, a radio signal device could be a radio frequency detonator for IEDs. Interesting. Why would you need two? Unless you're saying you hook one of them up to the IED, and then you would just sort of use that to detonate remotely. Could be. If that was his plan. Could be. It's an interesting thought. My Avatech popping in here for 20 saying, wow. The dude had hollow points? Oh, the humanity. One bang from those and from one of those would split a person in two and unalive everyone in the room, LOL. It's sad how much the feds and media hype up normal everyday items that are legal. I agree with you. It did seem as if they were trying to make it as if this is something no human. This is like, he was carrying a nuclear weapon when they were referencing the hollow points. They were making it like really like this is something that's really uniquely terrible. That where did he ever get his hands on that? So you're making a really good point here. I remember when I was gun shopping, I asked Branka about bullets, and I think he was the one who told me, because there's a whole question like as far as whether you go hollow tip or not, because if you get hollow tip, from what I recall, and if I'm mistaken on anything I'm about to say, please feel free to correct me. But from what I understand, that if you go with hollow tips, that's possible to cause more damage as opposed to once it gets lodged in there, as opposed to steel tip, which will can pierce right through a person. And a prosecutor who's looking to come after you would likely, whichever way you go, they can try to use it as a basis to try and portray you wrongfully as looking to be a dangerous individual. So I think it was Branka who suggested to me that it's the best advice he can give on that is if you carry the type of bullets that are consistent with what your local police force carries, that is a way that you can say that's why I basically was using what they're using. So that was my recollection of that conversation. That conversation was like 4 years ago, so I could be mistaken. You're not the only one, Tammy. We were all looking around. I actually wasn't even going to start the show. I was like, I don't know what's happening. Where's Tammy? Where is Tammy? What is happening? All right. Speaking of the polls, yesterday I was covering how Mamdani was making people show ID to get into his supermarkets and buy his discounted produce, and laughing about how you need ID basically to do anything in New York except vote. But to buy eggs, you need to basically have ID in New York. Well, I'm taking another step now to just prove that point all the more so. Horrifying. New York will require digital ID checks for social feeds. This is dystopian. Just look at this duo. Look at this dynamic duo here. Look at this duo of Letitia James and Kathy Hochul. Good golly. Letitia James was asked whether mandatory digital ID checks raised privacy concerns and said, "This is not a question of privacy." Of course not. Because rules for thee, but not for me. The final rules for New York's Safe for Kids Act require users to verify their age, which means a form of digital ID, before an algorithm can curate their feed or platform can send notifications after midnight. Attorney General Letitia James released the rules on July 28th alongside Governor Kathy Hochul. They take effect January 25th, 2027. The law is written for under 18s, but as always has to be the case, the age checking reaches everyone. To keep an algorithmic feed or overnight notifications, a user above 17 has to prove to the platform that they're an adult. Confirming who counts as an adult means collecting government IDs, face scans, birth, phone numbers, and email addresses from people who, until now, typed a birth date and moved on. So apparently, married women are no longer going to be able to use the internet in New York after midnight. I'm sorry, all you married women living in New York, you won't be able to use it because they're never going to be able to figure out your ID. Because if you're a married woman, we know it's impossible to have an ID. James rejected the privacy objection to all this. The rules are not a question of privacy. Why not? Why the hell are they not? Everything's about privacy when we want to have election security, but this is not a matter of privacy. What the freak are you talking about? I guess black people are not going to be able to use the internet because they can't get ID either. Those poor black people. I feel bad for the black people, the black New Yorkers who have no way of ever accessing the internet. I feel bad for the black New Yorkers, for the married women or the married men in New York, let's face it, who take their wives' names. They're screwed. They're screwed. Platforms can accept a government issue ID upload, and the rules force them to offer at least one other option. James' office also lists a selfie image or video or an email address or phone number cross-checked against other data that's held on a person. Any one of these hands a company something it can tie to real identity. This is a disaster waiting to happen. It's clear that the law isn't shying away from allowing platforms to collect sensitive user data, including biometrics. Oh, let's do that also. Why don't you just implant like a little transponder in the wrist? Because that's this is in no way invasive. It's like it's not a matter of privacy. You just say it's not a matter of privacy. Oh my God, Democrats are so authoritarian. They are so tyrannical. Everything about them, they are so tyrannical. For minors, the default changes. Instead of a personalized feed, users under 18 see posts from accounts they follow in a set sequence such as chronological order unless a parent consents to the algorithm version. Notifications between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. also stop without parental consent, and it's not clear how that works with travel or time zones. A minor can ask a parent to switch either feature back on. The request only goes through if the minor agrees to let the parent be notified of it. A parent who wants to grant consent goes through digital ID checks. Because basically, the state wants to make sure that they have every bit of control over you that they possibly can have. It's disgusting. This is so sickening. Showing one time when you go into the poll, that's completely too invasive. That's just, that's racist. That's sexist. But a nightly check on who you are when you're using the internet, no, that's not at all. That's totally fine. Using the freaking internet. Just using the internet. Such a sick. It's such a. They are so demented. It's like how much further can they possibly fall? I ask you, why does my color look green? I feel fine. Let me try something here. Hold on a second. Look at that! Nice. Nice. It actually worked. It actually worked. That was so cool. All right. You guys remember Cori Bush? While we're talking about demented socialists. You guys remember Cori Bush from St. Louis, Missouri? Former member of the House who lost her primary? Wannabe member of the squad who is never quite fit in? She was the loser of the group. She sat on the steps looking like a homeless person when they were on strike with AOC, and somehow she got left out in the cold all alone. Well, she was unseated 2 years ago, lost her primary, and she's trying to make her comeback tonight in Missouri. Spoiler alert, not going well. It's not going well for Cori. Not going well for Cori Bush.
Pulling me away from my position as Congresswoman. All you did was take some of the strings off.
This was her, obviously, in 2024, when she still thought she was going to, stay in Congress.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
She's such a fraudster.
Let's be clear. 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 Let's talk about what it really is. Because see, now I don't have to worry
Such an amazing candidate.
about some strings that I have attached, and as much as I love my job. But all they did was radicalize me, and so now they be afraid.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah?
See, now they about to see this other Cori, this other side, because let me say this. I just grew up a whole lot more over the last few weeks. Just grew up a whole different way. And so what they are about to get, they think. So the thing is this. The thing is this. I don't think that anything, there is nothing that happens in my life that happens in vain. So if this happened, it's because it was meant to happen. And let me say, it's because of the work that I need to do. And let me say this. AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
How's that plan going? How's that working out for you? She gave this speech 10 minutes before losing her last primary when she was an incumbent. So she was trying to like literally like days before she lost her primary. And today, alas, poor Cori. Justin and Socialist former Representative Cori Bush just lost yet again to Wesley Bell. Bear in mind, Wesley Bell is someone who we have no idea what gender this individual is. Just look at this picture here, Wesley Bell. This is like, and the name Wesley could be, I think it's leaning male. I think it's leaning male. The hairstyle, everything here.
Cori, what happened? We said, could Cori Bush counter in St. Louis City what Wesley Bell got out of St. Louis County, which was about as good as he get out of St. Louis County? The short answer is she didn't. She's losing by 26 points in St. Louis City. So now we've seen it across the dividing line, and we have called this race. NBC News has declared that Wesley Bell, freshman Democrat from Missouri's 1st Congressional District, has won renomination. He has defeated former Congresswoman Cori Bush, who sought a rematch after losing her seat to Bell in 2024. This one's decisive. Again, what you're looking at is, early vote in both these places. The election day vote may make this closer for Bush, but you've seen it now replicated across this divide here between the city and the county loomed very large in 2024. But in both places, again, we knew Bell would do well there. He's even up 26 in the early vote there. Folks, sorry.
So long and the short of it is, doesn't seem like we're going to be hearing from Cori Bush for a while now, which is a good thing because, like I said, she is a fraudster. I don't know if we need to cover this, do we? Incumbent House Democrat Wesley Bell defeated former Representative Cori Bush again on Tuesday in a primary rematch, with Bell clinching the nomination at around 9 p.m. on election night. Bush ran again after losing her seat in the last go-round, only to lose again to the same opponent. Maybe the third time's the charm. Who knows? Bush, who was backed by the Democrat Socialists of America in the race, had attacked Bell over his support from AIPAC. Bell's win is also a victory for the more establishment wing of the Democratic Party, which has been floundering. The establishment wing has been floundering. This is one of the rare wins for the establishment wing over DSA. As House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and the Congressional Black Caucus PAC has endorsed Bell ahead of the election because they're desperate to try and basically keep some semblance of what the world considers normalcy from consuming the Democratic Party, which definitely seems like it's a struggle for the Democrats right now. They are really, really, really struggling. They are losing left and right. This was actually a considerable win for them because Cori Bush is, loon that she is, she's fairly well-known name, and we should expect that Bell's going to win. and he outspent her by a ratio of 27-1. So that definitely helped. Definitely helped. But the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, are doing an effective job of cannibalizing the Democratic Party. As Gunther Engelman reports, Democratic Party, as you know it, is dying. Over 250 Democrat socialists have already held office, 90% elected since 2019. And in this year's primaries alone, 35 DSA-backed radicals have already beaten established Democrats. Tonight in Michigan, progressive Abdul El Sayed is crushing Haley Stevens in the Senate primary, another win for the extreme left. Their agenda is no secret: abolish ICE and open borders, defund the military, wealth taxes, and government ownership of corporations, Green New Deal extremes, soft on crime policies that gut police and prisons. This isn't the party of your parents. It's being eaten alive by anti-American, anti-Israel socialists who want to remake the country in a way none of us would recognize. Establishment Democrats are too scared or too weak to stop them. Only a handful of voices like Fetterman are speaking up. Midterms matter. These people put their plans in writing. Take it seriously. We'll hear a little bit from him. I'm not going to listen to 6 minutes of Sean Hannity because he's just too neocon for me to actually stomach for that long. But
250 Democratic socialists already serve in public office, communists that would like to destroy our entire way of life and, frankly, remake America in an image you wouldn't recognize.
He looks more and more like a stuffed shirt every time I see him.
While China rules the world, and despite the extremely high stakes here, this is the best, establishment Democrats can do?
And you better believe I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy.
So to be fair, this was Haley Stevens. This is the one who lost. I mean, look at this weirdo. I like the chyron here. Haley Stevens delivers one cringeworthy performance after another. That's funny, Sean. That's pretty good. Look at this woman. Look at this. This is who they're running against, the DSA. Look, just I picked the perfect moment to freeze, but I'll bet if I stop, play, and freeze again, she'll look just as bad.
And a little bit of sick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way. And I'm not supposed to pick up this microphone. I think it's just laying down. Did you want me to or no? What do you want me to?
Good golly. I'm going to try to not catch her looking like a psychopath. Oh my God.
To do? Hold this? Holy smokes. I mean, if you can't hear me and you need the mic, I'll do it. You will see darkness. You will be pushed. And our society needs you to stand together.
I didn't realize she's the incumbent.
At this time, our country loves you. To our doctors and our nurses, I wear these latex
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland is
Okay, then. Here now with reaction, former Clinton advisor, pollster Mark Penn, Fox News contributor Mary Catherine Ham, and the big weekend show. It's a great show. Co-host Tommy Lahren, always fearless. Mark, I always hate to do this to you. I usually would start with Catherine or Tommy, but I'm going to start with you. You're the Democrat here. If you look at the entire agenda, what are they looking for? They want to eliminate the presidency, the U.S. Senate. I'm talking about the DSA. Judges, the judiciary, amnesty for illegals, abolish borders, abolish ICE, defund the Department of War.
Democrats have no idea what to do with this. The establishment Democrats have absolutely no idea what to do with this.
End all deportations, eliminate cash bail, establish a wealth tax, cradle to grave, Green New Deal, abolish prisons and police and public ownership of most corporations. We've known each other a long time, Mark. I don't think you agree with one of those items. That is their written statement at the DSA. That is now the majority of your party. Reaction.
Well, the DSA, they're not Democrats. And unfortunately,
see, this is why the establishment's losing. This right here. This is why the establishment's losing. You can't get one establishment person who sounds like his balls have dropped. And obviously, it's a family show. I'm referring to the New Year's Eve ball dropping.
Other Democrats and mainstream Democrats let them in the party, accepted them, and now they're
is that what it was?
Establishment.
She's a congresswoman running for Senate. Oh, okay, my mistake. I apologize. Yeah.
If this Michigan race goes the way the polls, and I think the early returns are showing, it's a tremendous defeat for the Democratic Party as a pro-American party that, okay, differs with the Republican Party, but is in the mainstream of supporting the country and its basic values.
It does sound like in a van down by the river. What's that guy's name? What's that guy's name? Saturday Night Live, the fat guy who died. You'll know who it is. That's really funny, Turner. Chris Farley, that was it. Thank you, Granilla. Yes. Okay, wait. I'm at 301 here. I want to just see that again. I know SNL is going to hit me hard for doing this, but I got to just share. Oh, that was too good, Turner. In case you haven't seen it.
Come on, get in here. Obvious question, who threw the egg?
I don't know, but I can tell you what you had for lunch, a chili dog. Really, I don't know.
Don't know. Well, that and a nickel get you a hot cup of Jack Squat.
Tell me if you can tell the difference. Tell me if you can tell the difference. Oh, God. If I don't, now you know the character there. If I don't show it, maybe I can.
Young lady, you want to throw in your 2 cents? No. Anybody? On the silent treatment, huh? That's all right. You can't.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's the guy who's always screaming about being thrown in a van down by the river. So you tell me if you see a difference.
Of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way. And I'm not supposed to pick up this microphone. I think it's just laying down. Did you want me to or no? What do you want me to do? Hold this? Holy smokes. I mean, if you can't hear me and you need the mic, I'll do it. You will see darkness. You will be pushed. And our society needs you to stand together at this time. Our country loves you.
The gloves.
Our doctors and our nurses. I'm wearing these
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Oh, God. Rest in peace, Chris Farley. Oh, God. Where are we at here?
The DSA does not support America. This is a toxic brew of anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism that has been allowed to come into the Democratic Party.
No, that's interesting
take. Danger both to the party and to the country.
Yeah, let's get your take, Tommy Lahren.
So what did he just say there? He just said DSA is not part of who we are. That's just not us. That's not part of who we are. It's interesting he's saying that because the Senate Majority Leader for the Senate Minority Leader for the Democrats here, that's not what he would say. That's not what he said today. He said just the opposite today. That's what you said. He said just the opposite today. This is Chuck Schumer talking about the TSA.
And Manu.
Thank you. Is the rise of the DSA good for your party?
Look, we are a big tent party, and being a big tent party is a strength, not a weakness.
So yeah, apparently he thinks it's part of your big tent there. It's under the circus, the big top. You got the big tent there with all the clowns. You can't have a circus without clowns. Come on. You would think he would try to disassociate with them. Try to dissociate. Wait, this guy over here is. This guy's saying, not my monkey, not my circus. And Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is saying, we're Big Ten here. Big Ten. Our monkeys. These are our monkeys. There's such a mess. This party is dying. Oh my God, it's dying.
Well, I'll tell you this, Sean, it looks like, and again, it's very early, but it looks like El Sayed is probably going to walk away with this. Again, very early, but some of the numbers are pretty good for him.
He's going to win.
I actually don't think that's a bad thing for Republicans, not just for the Republican.
Because we need to basically see, this is the Democrats exposing themselves like Chris Farley when he gets down to the van by the river. This is pretty much what Democrats are doing. You see El Sayed and they're exposing themselves.
Candidate in Michigan, but just for Republicans in general. And I'll tell you why. It's because I don't actually think there's that much daylight between the so-called establishment Democrats and these radical DSA or socialist candidates. There's really not a whole lot of daylight. If you look at their policy platforms, yes, the DSA candidates and the folks like El Sayed.
This is the Bolsheviks swallowing up the Mensheviks. That's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a recalibration of the Bolsheviks swallowing up the Mensheviks. If you're not familiar with that, incident, you got to look back at Russia in 1917, after the February Revolution, when they basically decided to kill off the Tsar. Well, there was a whole political struggle there between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. The Mensheviks were like the less insane part of the Communist Party. The slightly less insane. And I think Tommy Lahren here, who I agree with, at least 30% of the time. This is one of those 30%. I don't think there's that much of a difference.
They seem more extreme, or are they perhaps just a little bit more honest? I think it's better to know what you're running against, and it's better for voters to know exactly what they're getting than it is for people like the Spanbergers, the Mikey Sherrills, the Joe Biden, for goodness sakes, who run as moderates, as traditional, and in practice, they're anything but. So I think it's better for Republicans, not only—
It is better. She's right.
For the Republican candidates, but for the party in general, especially looking ahead to 2028.
Because this gives the opportunity for the public to reject socialism. Now, we know they're going to cheat in some of these elections to steal some of their elections. That's going to happen. Which that's part of what I want to cover tonight is Mamdani cheating in his election, which he did. I don't know whether he won or not, but it's definitely more than the different margin of difference with respect to the fake votes that came in.
To have some of these candidates so that the country can truly see where the Democrat Party is and see the alternative with the Republican Party. So I think it's better to know who you're going against rather than these snakes in the grass who pretend to be moderate and are truly anything but.
Yeah, they're saying that, the moderate ones are saying we should allow in every person across the globe. That's the moderate ones. Moderate ones are crushing our borders. How is that different from what the socialists would do? Socialists just admit it. But the moderate ones pretend that they're not doing it. Well, they very obviously are. So, that's a point in favor of Tommy Lahren here. Who, again, I agree with 30% of the time, and this happens to be one of those times. So you have a better idea. You get a better idea who these people are. We're going to get to Mamdani in just a moment. Abigail Spanberger and Mike Show were roommates in D.C. as simple freshmen in Congress in 2019. Not surprising. She sounds exactly like a cartoon evil villain with the facial expressions and gestures to match. She definitely got her education watching Saturday morning cartoons. Or Chris Farley. Hey, Haley Stevens sounds like a preschool teacher talking to the kids. Simple, don't allow them to run as Democrats, strip them. That'd be the way to do it. That'd be a way to do it, but they don't have the cojones. They're afraid. They're afraid that the party will be fractured. They recognize the monster they created. They recognize it's too late. Listen to another one of these socialists here.
You know, you talked about your past position.
This is Hong. Like, they're not even pretending to not be Chinese anymore, although I'm not sure where she's from. I should listen to this word salad. And she's questioned about whether or not she still stands behind abolishing Thanksgiving. She's the Democratic nominee for governor of Wisconsin. Francesca Hong.
Positions that he keeps highlighting and, you know, obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
This should be a simple no, but she can't really say that because she struggles. She probably realizes she's a terrible liar.
I'm a chef, and one of
there's a story. Here comes the story. I'm a chef. What the hell?
the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. You know, I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think there I want.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's only painful for people who get ratcheted up by the likes of you.
Wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can
Multiple views are just the views you're sharing and then the people who you manage to convince into thinking that way.
evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people
My background as a chef is what makes me perfectly suited to become governor of Wisconsin.
to the table.
Francesca Hong, thank you.
What the hell does that mean? So wait, are you behind it or not? I don't know. It's more eloquent word salad than Kamala Harris is able to put together. No less deranged. Probably more deranged, frankly. That's what we're dealing with. Get rid of Thanksgiving. So you're telling me that this is not part of the party? Oh, here's Ro Khanna, Van Jones, open arms.
Let's not lose the bigger picture about what this represents in changing. It's historic in Michigan, a swing state. And every person who's brown or black or a different faith should look at this and say, you know what? I can run for office and I can become a senator. I could become president. That's an amazing thing.
How?
It's an amazing thing for the country.
Yeah.
Look, I just want to echo that. If
you're basically echoing socialist policies and you're running in an area that is very urban, you have a really good chance of gaining political power, irrespective or probably because of your melanin.
you are a young Muslim kid or an Arab kid, look at these numbers. Look at these numbers. Right.
This is the stupidest thing in the world. Hey, okay, I need to just go off on this for a second, okay? You're about to hear this doofus start singing the praises of breaking the glass ceiling. We heard this nonsense all the way back in 2016 with Hillary Clinton running for president. They're all about shattering the glass ceiling, breaking the glass. There's no freaking glass ceiling. It's a myth that no one actually really subscribes to, other than these stupid, empty brain, like these coddled, ridiculous ivory tower folks pretend that there's these other people out there who feel as if they're held down until they see someone break through the glass ceiling. Oh, if only someone can break through the glass ceiling, then that'll give hope to little girls out there. It'll give hope to the little Arab kids sitting at home that, hey, I can be something too. This is such utter nonsense. Maybe in the 1970s, this was true. No one thinks like this in the 2020s. No one's thought like this in the 2010s. This is the biggest nonsense in the world. Oh, what a day to celebrate. We shattered the glass ceiling as if there's never been someone who's a Muslim who held political office before. This is the stupidest thing in the world. Such utter nonsense. So let's ignore the fact that our party is devolving into becoming open socialists and just say, huzzah for the Arabs. So stupid, because otherwise they thought they had no chance. They thought they had no chance. As if someone named with a middle name Hussein didn't end up getting elected as president in 2008. God.
Right next to us. You can do anything you want to in this country. We need you. We love you. If you're a parent with tears in your eyes tonight, I get it.
There's no parent with tears in their eyes. There's no parent who's like, oh, thank God, now my little Abdul feels like he could be president one day. That's not what's happening here. If you're a parent with tears in your eyes, I got a tip for you. Prozac. Okay? There's something wrong with you. Medical counseling. And go to like a real doctor, not one of these stupid newly DSM-infused lunatics that they're churning out of these woke schools. Get like a real doctor. God, so stupid.
We can talk about, as the congressman said, the politics later. It's history tonight.
It's not history. What the hell's history? Cheap.
And God bless you.
But let's not lose.
Ridiculousness. Hey, to stop Ro Khanna became a senator. Did he be like, oh no, I got too much melanin, I can never become a senator? Like every nationality has to have someone break through before little children out there feel like they can do it. Why? Says who? No one thinks that. You ever met a kid like that? He's like, oh no, I can never, I won't be able to become a president unless El Sayed wins the Democratic nomination. This is so dumb. Everything the Democrats stand for is stupid. This is the best of them. This is the good ones. These are the ones who are not socialists. These are the ones who, Van Jones is one who speaks out against socialism. Idiots. The best of them are morons. And speaking of socialists, Democrats, I'm not going here yet. We'll save that. I got so much going on tonight. I don't even know how I'm going to cover everything. I'll come to that in a moment. I just want to... I'm going to have to vent for a minute here. I'm going to vent while we're talking about Al Sayed. Okay. This is him doing his stupid lip service. You can see that he's far more polished than the lunatic establishment woman who was running against him, that Haley, that crazy Haley woman.
AIPAC and Israel are not the same as Judaism and the Jewish people. I love Judaism and I love the Jewish people.
No, you don't. You're full of crap. That's total lip service. You didn't give the slightest damn about Jews or Judaism. You don't give the slightest damn at all. You don't love them. I'm not saying you hate them. I'm just stop it. These idiots in the background, like, oh, he said he loved them.
I venerate Judaism and I venerate the Jewish people. I stand.
Do you? How so? What have you done? How? I'm not looking for you to venerate, but you're making the claim. I don't need your veneration. I'm not. I have no need whatsoever for your veneration. I just think that you're full of crap. I just think you're a liar. So what way do you venerate? You say you venerate them? What does that mean? What does that mean? I venerate Chinese people. Not the Chinese government, but I venerate Chinese people. How? How, Joe? How'd you do that? No, I just said it. I venerate Chinese people. I venerate. Let me tell you, CCP is not Chinese people. I venerate Chinese people. Utter nonsense. As if we haven't seen the last 3 years, where basically the glomming together of Jews in AIPAC and Israel as if they're one. So you're sitting here today saying that it's like, you're saying it's different. Okay, fine. For today you are. Today you are.
With Judaism, and I stand with the Jewish people. And the single...
How do you stand with Jewish people? What way? Tell us, Al Sayed. Tell us, Al Sayed, how?
And the single most dangerous thing that they've tried to tell us is that somehow they can extend the definition of anti-Semitism to include a foreign government and its leaders.
Oh, you see, this is his way of blaming Jews. While he's venerating Jews, he's like, and those Jews are trying to trick us that it's considered anti-Semitism.
I call bullshit. No.
I call BS on you.
No. If you believe that anti-Semitism extends to include a foreign government and AIPAC, you are creating a dangerous circumstance.
Okay. All right. I don't need to hear any more from this comment. But what pissed me off, what got me angry, is something that's got me angry ever since I started doing this show. It's not this clip. No. What got me angry is Brian Krasenstein, who I've had on the show here. Brian, I've had you on the show, and you're welcome back anytime. Anytime you want, you're welcome back here, Brian. I'll bring you back on in here. But him coming in here saying, as a Jewish American, let me go get out my Jew cape here. Let me just tie that sucker on. A big giant J, a little J with a star around it, because otherwise no one's going to recognize that I'm Jewish. As a Jewish American, Abdul Sayed just said everything I've been thinking. Great speech. Disagreeing with the government isn't anti-Semitism. That's true. That's true. Standing in, I agree with that as far as it being an overall sentiment. I don't like when the JDL or the ADL or whoever it is, Jonathan Goebbels goes out there, starts pretending that anyone who says anything against Israel all of a sudden hates Jews. I think it's a terrible thing that he does. But what I also don't like is when someone who would have no way of knowing they're Jewish but for their name, because they are Jewish in name only, decides to start standing there on the Jewish platform saying, as a Jewish American, just shut up. Just shut up as a Jewish American. Classic Gino. That's what I told him. I'm not saying, I was pretty much touching on this when I was talking about the cheeseburger Burger King Jew yesterday. I don't mind if you want to do whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm not happy about it. I'll try to, if you want to sit and have a personal conversation with me, I'll try to explain to you why it is that you're being self-destructive in basically abandoning your faith. But that's, a one-on-one conversation. I wouldn't be calling out someone publicly like this, but for the fact that they're basically trying to stand on their Judaism as a basis to have added credibility. That's what bothers me. When you have no tie to Judaism but for your name, but you basically, in 99% of the way, reject everything about Judaism. Do everything you can to pose as a non-Jew. If that's what you're about, don't get up there on a stinking podium as Super Jew now, speaking out on behalf of Jews and Jewish Americans. You stand up there on you're basically a coffin filled with Torah skulls and IDF soldiers saying, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. And I on behalf of Jews, this is totally spot on. Shut up. Just shut up. If he made the exact same post and didn't reference himself as being a Jewish American, I would not be upset. But he's trying to basically say that he has added credibility because his foreskin was chopped when he was a little kid. Presumably. Maybe. I guess. Likely. What the hell is that? Well, a lot of people who aren't Jewish had their foreskin chopped. So you've got Jewish DNA. Like I said, I wouldn't call him out publicly. If someone is an irreligious Jew, I get it. I understand it. And I'm not passing judgment on anyone like that. Unless you're a totally irreligious Jew who's coming up there saying, as a Jew, shut up. Just shut up. This is the only time you ever want anyone to know you're Jewish. The rest of your life you spend trying to hide it as much as you possibly can. I'm going to hide everywhere I can that I'm Jewish unless it comes that now it's benefiting me to come out as a Jewish American. Shut up. Like as if he's like, you know, like some gay person coming out of the closet. Oh, I'm coming out now as a gay person. Disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting. That's a gyno. A Jew in name only. Like very literally, like the name Krasenstein sounds Jewish. It's a Jew in name only. In no other way. Awful. Can't stand that. That diverted me. That little thing diverted me there. So I was going to be talking to you about Mamdani. Where is it? Here it is. I was talking to you about socialists and how they're basically all over the place. And that in New York City, the election that they had there is a mess. There were a lot of illegal votes that were counted in the last election. Hundreds of thousands, more than the margin of difference between Mamdani and independent Andrew Cuomo in the last election.
I saw this article yesterday. Want to get your take on it. Election auditor says 200,000 votes cast in the New York.
Good on me. See, I'm consistent. I'm very consistent.
New York City mayoral election are suspicious, and you can dig into the article here.
And I'm very careful to only refer to gynos. Not all irreligious Jews are gynos. Because they don't come up there and start saying, as a Jew, now listen to me, I'm important. My voice matters because I'm Jewish. Shut up. God. You a dimwit saying, got a job today after a month unemployed, had to take a 20% pay cut. Would be nice to give me a discount on the laser rent. What do you want me to do for you, brother? What should I do? I'm not looking to make anyone broke. What do you want me to do? I assume you're making this joke. I'm glad you got a job. I'm glad that's something. It's better than not having a job. But.
And they ran an analysis of these votes and found that there were hundreds of thousands that were either deceased, didn't have proper social security numbers, or weren't legally registered to vote in New York City. And that with 1.1 million votes going to Mamdani, he won by a margin of 200,000. And that's the margin of fraud that this analysis found. Right.
He won by 210,000 votes, and there were 240,000 illegal votes, basically.
Here, I'm reading directly from the article and from the data. Around 1 million votes cast in the election, 7% of them were from non-existent records, 6% were from a range of social security numbers that are not possible, so fake social security numbers. 10% do not live in New York and cannot legally vote, and 1% have no social security numbers. So, do you think this election was fraudulent?
We'll get into the fraudulence of this election in a moment. I just want to share this point here. He's right, criticizing Israel isn't necessarily anti-Semitic, but a lot of anti-Semites will only criticize Israel and no other country in the region. That's exactly my point. That's exactly he is right. It's technically right. It's technically right. I don't need you to say it as a Jew. It's technically right. And as Philip is pointing out here, a lot of these people have no other animus toward any other country other than Israel, as if Israel is uniquely, disastrously evil and terrible. Which, just stop it. Just stop it. Like that's the only country in the world which, like, they basically can find everything wrong with what they're doing. They're a very flawed country. You want to tell me that's the only country you can find a problem with? There's something disturbingly wrong with you. So, yeah, you can basically hate Israel and not be anti-Semitic. That's definitely possible. It seems to be almost increasingly difficult to find that unicorn. Whenever I see someone railing on Israel, I don't assume that they're anti-Semitic. I don't assume that at all. I wait for it to come, though. I'm like, let's see. Give them 3 months. Give them 6 months. And let's see where they're at in 6 months. Today, they're against the state of Israel. They all start that way. You can be. Let's see where you are a year from now. As a Jew, Gesundheit. That's funny. The election map was almost 100% votes for either Mamdani or Cuomo at each station. Their partisans clearly both cheated. Probably. Perhaps. I'm not saying Mamdani lost. Frankly, I thought he had no chance of losing. But it was more than margin of victory, which makes this a meaningful story.
I don't know. I think the margin was large enough so it didn't have to be. It's a different question than, do I think the Democratic Party cheated in this election? The answer to that is a resounding yes. The Democrat Party has cheated in almost every election since Boss Tweed. And when they don't have to, they do it for practice so that they can do it when they really have to. So the reality is that the Democratic Party in New York could probably be one of the examples, if someone wanted to write a good book about it, as the most crooked enterprise in the history of the United States.
It goes all the way back to Tammany Hall over a century ago, the crookedness of Democrats in New York. It goes back a century now. I'm not exaggerating. Just look up Tammany Hall.
It has a history not unlike the mafia. And it worked very closely with the mafia. The head of the Democratic Party in New York for some period of time was the closest friend of the head of the mafia. So we got 170 years of fraud in New York. We've got a judicial system that's a joke. It has very little to do with the fair and equal administration of law. It's either a foreign theory of justice, which isn't justice, more like Russia that Dostoevsky criticized in Crime and Punishment. Sometime we could go over that. But we also have judges that are straight out now crooks. I mean,
my prediction is he's never going to go over it. There will never be a time that he's going to go over Dostoevsky. I don't know why people say that. When's that time that Benny here is going to sit down and he's going to go over Dostoevsky with Giuliani? That's not going to happen.
Remember, every Supreme Court justice, they're the ones who hear most of the cases, is appointed by a Democratic boss and pretends to be elected because he gets put on a ballot and he has no opposition.
That's true. New York state judges are elected. But in order to get on the ballot as the Democratic candidate, you have to have friends in the Democratic Party. You have to be connected. And no Republican judge has won in the state of New York in my lifetime, probably. So they almost always run unopposed because there's just no point, because the Democrat's going to win. So it's called an election, but it's pretty much an appointment.
And then when the Democratic boss wants a favor, what do you think the guy has to do if he wants to stay on the bench? Now, if it's a political case, it's granted. If it's another case, some of the judges are honest enough to say no, but they don't get reappointed. If the Democratic leader has a nice relationship with a lawyer, a personal injury lawyer, who has a mill for fixing cases, they can make millions. They do, and I've put some of them in jail.
He did. He was famous for, and when he was prosecutor for going before he became mayor. He's famous for that he got convictions on mafia boss John Gotti, and I think he was there when they were doing the whole ab scam thing, where they were basically running a sting operation on judges, which I think was in the 1980s. I wasn't really into politics back then, so can't give you much more than that, and I haven't researched it. So this is the article. That wasn't it. This is it. Election auditor says over 200,000 votes cast in New York City mayoral election are suspicious. Evidence suggesting that there were tens of thousands of fraudulent votes cast in New York City mayoral election has been brought forward by an election integrity activist whose report claims that the margin of victory that socialist mayor Zohran Mamdani won by is below the number of votes that the report brings into question. Marley Hornick, founder of Real America Vote, as well as NY Citizens Audit, released a report claiming that there were a large number of non-existent or unqualified voters in the New York mayoral election. In an interview with Sid and Friends in the Morning, program on New York radio station WABC, which is a very right-leaning, it's one of the more right-leaning radio programs in New York, Hornick said, "I actually don't know whether Mamdani won the mayoral race, and I'm not here to say that he didn't. The problem we uncovered is that New York City and the New York State Board of Elections have no idea if Miami won the mayoral election either. And that's where the rubber meets the road here," she added. After looking at around 1 million votes cast in the election, the organization found that 7%, 68,000, were from non-existent records. 6% fell into the 773,999 range of Social Security numbers, which they claim are not possible. Can't have that many. 10% do not live in the Big Apple, and 1% have no Social Security number. So out of 2.2 million voters, we studied about 1 million of them, and we found more votes that are apparently illegal than his margin of victory, she added. The report claimed that there are about 228,000 votes that were cast that can be brought into question, and broke them down into 4 categories. Voters that do not exist, voters with Social Security numbers in the range of 773 to 999, voters that are not in New York City, and voters without a Social Security number. The total vote tally for New York's election was just over 1.1 million votes going to Mamdani, with the runner-up Cuomo getting 906,000 votes. Mamdani's margin of victory in the mayor race was 207,000, which would be less than the 228,000 votes in question from Hornick. It's notable that according to the Social Security Administration, it is possible to have a Social Security number between 773 and 899 after 2011. Because previously unassigned numbers were introduced for assignment, including area numbers 0000666 and 900 to 999 in 2011. Those people are 15, right? Anyone who's, I guess you can get a Social Security number when you're a little bit older. Those who would be able to vote with those numbers would have to be immigrants that became citizens and not natural-born Americans, as those born after 2011 would not have been old enough to vote. So if you came here in the last 15 years, in theory, you could have been assigned one of those numbers, because anyone born here would not have been gotten those numbers and reached the age of majority yet. Only up to 2011 were the exclusions in the 773 to 899 range. Hornick's organization used LexisNexis in order to determine the number of voters they claimed that fell that did not exist category, but it's unclear how the other data was obtained. The report states that Real America Vote performed the research in a commercial law enforcement database designed to screen for false identities and precise location. So, and these are the numbers that they break down here. This is just out of 1 million. This is from 1 million people they checked as 228,000, which means that when you're talking about 2 million votes, if they would have searched all of the 2.2 million votes, you're talking close to 500,000 of them being fake votes. That's insane. That's really insane. That's an insanely high number. As high a number as you might think that there should be. That's crazy. That is a crazy high number. Don't forget about the Richard Daley machine electing him over and over for mayor in Chicago as a prime example of Democrat fraud. Yes, it's a good point. And I was specifically referring to New York fraud and the history, the rich history that the city of New York has with Democrats engaging in fraud. But this is in most urban centers. Philadelphia is notorious. Chicago is notorious. LA is notorious. But New York has been doing it longer than anyone. So we could be looking up to like 500,000 illegal votes here. What's going to happen out of this? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. It's sickening. Absolutely sickening. Where are we at? Where are we at on our goal? It's not looking good, is it? I'm feeling, my gut says it's not looking halfway. Maybe. A late push on the goal. That could happen. Could happen. We'll see. I'm at 7 out of 15 here. Did I miss anything? Let me check. No, I'm looking at locals. Everything clean in locals. I'm about to go over to Rand Paul's story and him going after Fauci. That's where we're going next. That's where we're going next, in case you joined late. Richard Parker asking what Israel has done that's worthy of criticism. People get mad at AIPAC. AIPAC is an organization that's run by Americans in support of the state of Israel. Well, let's face it, most of them are Jews. Not all of them, but most of them. So, people don't like that they basically raise a lot of money and throw a lot of money into elections. So, but I don't know. Apparently defending yourself from like an entity that wants to see you destroyed is really, really evil. It's genocidal or something. So they say. Capos are slippery like a capo on the neck of a guitar that can slide up and down the neck as required to play the tune. John. Charlie D'Angelo. Oh my God. The great musician Charlie D'Angelo in my chat. Long time brother, saw your show today. I have no worries about the DSA. If they think they have a chance, I say the Communist Control Act of 1954. I'll tell you right now, I'm not worried about it either. I think it's a very unpopular thing. I think socialism is a very unpopular thing. Now, today it is. Can't tell you in 10, 20 years from now. Today it is. Like I said, I can't tell you in 10, 20 years from now because our education system has been doing a lot of hard work in trying to dumb down our youth so that they can't appreciate just how disastrous socialism and communism are. So I think today we have enough folks who are wise to the insanity of socialism, the self-destructive nature of socialism, the ends justifying the means resulting in tyranny that is inevitably the objective of socialism, even as the useful idiots who promote it are willfully blind to it. And in case anyone is unaware, I've covered this on the show in the past, the term useful idiot was specifically coined by the heads of the Communist Party to refer to their followers. They think of them as useful idiots. Don't think I made that up. Go check Grok. Or check your favorite local AI. That's the origin of the term useful idiot. We Native Americans don't have foreskins. Can you explain that? Well, what that means is that when you drop trout, you want me to explain? You want me to explain what cutting off foreskin means? You want me to explain the ramifications of not being cut? Or Katie Joe, tell me what you want me to explain to you. I don't know where to go with this super chat. I don't even know what to. Can I explain why? I don't. Okay, I'll tell you this. I'll go one step further. I do not understand why anyone who's not Jewish would be cut. Let me give you a little religious history lesson here, okay? I'll give you a little religious history lesson. So here we go with the little religious history lesson. Going back, I want to say 3,750 years. It's actually a little less, about 3,740 years. 3740 is a little closer. So at or around that time, Abraham was living in Canaan, and God spoke to him and said, "Hey, I'm gonna make a covenant with you, where your offspring are gonna be God's people, and they're gonna have to follow my commandments. And in so doing, I'll take care of them. And if they don't, it's not gonna be so good for them." Also told him that you should know that your offspring are going to go into bondage, because there was all sorts of questions as to what it is that Abraham did wrong, which it's a little bit beyond this conversation. I will probably discuss it with you about as soon as Giuliani discusses Dostoevsky with Benny Johnson. It's for another day. For another day. But anyhow, as a sign of that covenant between Abraham and God, God told him to self-circumcise. He was 99 years old at this point in time, and he did. So now, he did. At the time, he had a 13-year-old son by the name of Ishmael, who is widely regarded as the forebear of Arabs today. Ishmael was 13 years old, and to his remarkable credit, he said, if this is what God wants my dad to do, I'm going to do the same thing. So as a 13-year-old boy, he too got circumcised. So that being the case, and then a year later, thereabouts, Isaac is born, and he gets circumcised on the 8th day, when he's 8 days old. So, and Isaac is he has two children, Jacob and Esau. Esau never ends up getting circumcised, Jacob is. And Jacob, whose name later changes to Israel, becomes the father of the children of Israel, or what you heard of Israelites. So now you understand the derivation of the whole circumcision. So basically, you have Abraham first, then Isaac, and then Jacob / Israel, all circumcised. Israel has 12 sons, become the 12 tribes. They become the forebears of the 12 tribes. And or 13 tribes, depending on how you want to look at it. And they become the forebears of that, and they're all circumcised. It's one of the ways they distinguish themselves from the Egyptians. Well, although at a certain point they stopped doing it and then they got circumcised. I don't want to go into that level of detail about Jewish history. The point that I'm getting at here is, for thousands of years, nobody but Jews and Arabs, descendants, offsprings of Ishmael, were circumcised. Now, most non-Jews today, most non-Jews who are westernized, are recognized as actually coming from Esau. So like your Europeans, I can't speak to the Native Americans, because Lord knows, no one really knows where they come from. No offense, it's just no one knows. And people are not sure what peoples the Native Americans come from, because they got here so long ago. But when you're talking about your Europeans, so the Germanic peoples, the Italian peoples, they all derive from Esau. why it is that westernized world started engaging in circumcision. That's a relatively recent phenomenon, which I believe was done for health purposes under the perspective that it's an ability to keep your nether regions more hygienic and less buildup of different deposits in that sensitive area of the body. So I believe that that's where Europeans started doing it. I'd be surprised if they were doing it for more than the past 200 years or so. It just doesn't seem like something that they would have been coming up with before they heard of sterilization. So I would think that that's a relatively new thing. But so when you talk about Jews and Arabs, there's a religious component to the circumcision. When you talk about Christians who are, of European origin, that tends to be more of a hygienic thing. I think very few Asians are circumcised. I think that's a very uncommon thing. I could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding. So there you go. And that would explain why it is that Native Americans would not be circumcised, because where would they ever come to it from? All right. That was, sometimes I get a question which I feel like not too many people on the internet, if you're going to be talking to, you're going to be able to answer this question for you. So let me give you the breakdown. Richard's saying that's not Israel, and more American Jews are anti-American. A lot of the irreligious Jews certainly are. Unfortunately, it's very to my utter shame. That is the reality. I'm starting to wonder if the ghetto is broken. It's been that long. Moshe G is saying the royals in England used to have foreskin removed for medical reasons. It's known to be cancerous. Cancerous? I never heard that. That's a new one. I never heard that the foreskin is cancerous. That sounds really painful. That sounds really, really painful. All right. I think it's time for us to start talking about Rand Paul. Give me a moment here. So here's his 4-page. I'm just saving it real quick here so I don't have to do that while you're all here with me. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. That's definitely not what I wanted to do. Senator Rand Paul dropped this at 4:41 p.m. So you might not have heard about it yet. You might not have heard about this yet. Dropped my contempt resolution for Anthony Fauci. Oh, no. Yes, coming after Anthony Fauci. Where was we? Here we were. We'll start here. Senate resolution authorizing the President of the Senate to certify the report of the Committee of Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs of the Senate regarding the refusal of Dr. Anthony S. Fauci to answer questions pertinent to the subject under inquiry before the committee as required by committee subpoena. In the Senate of the United States, Mr. Paul from the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs reported the following original resolution, which was placed on the calendar. Resolution authorizing the President of the Senate to certify the report of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs of the Senate regarding the refusal of Dr. Anthony S. Fauci to answer questions pertinent to the subject under inquiry before the committee as required by the committee subpoena. Basically saying we asked a whole bunch of questions and he didn't want to answer. Whereas the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs of the Senate in this preamble referred to as the committee is conducting an investigation, which it definitely seemed like they're conducting some sort of investigation. So whereas they're conducting this investigation, and whereas Dr. Fauci was knowingly provided, wait, was that the right one? That's page 3. Damn it. This is page 2. Sorry. So they're conducting an investigation into, among other matters, risky life sciences research and the origins of the COVID-19 virus. Whereas, pursuant to Rule 26 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, Section 12 of the Senate Resolution 94, 119th Congress, agreed to February 27, 2025, and Rule 5C of the Rules of Procedure of the Committee. So whereas on June 22nd, the committee issued a subpoena directing Dr. Anthony S. Fauci to testify before the committee on July 29, 2026. So he got this a month ago, saying you're going to come in here and testify at 10 a.m. in our Senate office building. Whereas, in a letter from the committee chairman, Rand Paul, accompanying the subpoena, Fauci was instructed that he was to provide testimony concerning matters under consideration by the committee, including the origins of COVID-19, risky life sciences research, and your tenure as a federal government employee. So he was told, am I frozen? It looks like I'm frozen with my eyes closed. Why does it look like I'm frozen? It's not good. Checking to see. Are we live? It's looking like it. There you go. Okay. I don't know what that was. What was I up to when I got cut? I guess in the context of talking about circumcision, getting cut is having a whole different type of implication. I know I was frozen. I saw that. All right. Move back a little bit here. Whereas, in a letter from Committee Chairman Rand Paul accompanying the subpoena, Dr. Fauci was instructed that he was to provide testimony concerning matters under consideration by the committee, including the origins of COVID, risky life sciences research, and your tenure as federal government employee. Whereas, on July 17, 2026, so you got this notification telling you what you're going to be talking about. And then on July 17, 2026, the committee issued a revised subpoena directing him to testify before the committee on July 29th at 8:30 a.m. at 3342 Dirksen Senate Office Building. Whereas on July 29th, Dr. Fauci appeared before the committee and delivered prepared testimony discussing his tenure as a federal government employee, prior testimony to Congress, and records released by the committee as part of its investigation. Whereas Dr. Fauci concluded his prepared testimony by stating his intent to refuse to answer questions posed by the committee, citing the right against self-incrimination under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Whereas Dr. Fauci was knowingly provided a full and unconditional pardon dated January 19, 2025 for any offenses against the United States which he may have committed or taken part of during the period January 1st, 2014 to the date of this pardon as arising from and or in any way related to services as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, or as a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, or the White House COVID-19 Response Team, or Chief Medical Advisor to the President. Whereas, upon being asked questions pertinent to the questions under inquiry, Dr. Fauci refused to answer, again, citing the Fifth Amendment. Whereas Chairman Poll found the privilege of the Fifth Amendment unsupported as applied to questions pertaining to the period of the pardon and directed Dr. Fauci to answer. Whereas Chairman Paul further found Dr. Fauci waived his right to claim the privilege as a result of his opening testimony on subject matter pertinent to the questions under inquiry. This is a key part here. I know we're running through all the whereases, which you call your boilerplate type of thing here. They assert a little preamble to the whole thing. This part right here, I cannot stress enough. This is a very, very, very important part. This little whereas Chairman Paul further found, can I edit this thing? Can I do that? Yeah, let me do that. Whereas Chairman Paul further found Dr. Fauci waived his right to claim the privilege as a result of his opening testimony on subject matter pertinent to the questions under inquiry. The reason this is so key is because by waiving his privilege, he cannot then refuse to answer questions. This was likely under the law a grievous, terrible legal mistake made by his attorneys. So I was looking into this in the days following the Fauci appearance. And the law seems pretty clear. You cannot make a statement and then stand behind the Fifth Amendment saying, I refuse to answer any questions. He made a 90-second statement, which was a terrible legal error, because in so doing, he imperiled his ability and his power to invoke the Fifth Amendment. You cannot use the Fifth Amendment as a sword, right? You can't get up there and just start slashing and cutting people, and then when asked questions, say, up Fifth Amendment, up Fifth Amendment, up Fifth Amendment. The law is pretty clear on this, and it's something that his skilled attorneys, which he had reportedly half a dozen of them in the room with him, most assuredly, he was paying $5,000 an hour minimum if he was paying a penny just for the people sitting in the room. Okay? Because these people, I'm sure, are charging over $1,000 an hour. And this big high-priced firm, and he's got 6 of them sitting in the room with him, and they stupidly, allowed him to make an opening statement. I don't know if we saw his opening statement. We should probably look at that, and you'll see exactly how terrible this is from him if you're his lawyer. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake, and they knew he was going to do this, and they didn't stop him. He clearly was doing whatever his lawyers told him to do, because they told him, don't answer any questions. Plead the fifth, plead the fifth, plead the fifth. Dr. Fauci is not someone who wants to plead the fifth. He's a guy who loves to blah, 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 blah. So if he's making an opening statement, they were definitely well aware of, as to not simply that he was going to do it, but what he was going to say. We're going to listen to his opening statement here.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement. Member Peters, members of the committee, I served at the NIH for over 54 years, 38 of those as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Over that period, I proved that I believe in and respect the value of legitimate congressional oversight. In fact, I testified before and or briefed Senate and House Senate and House committees well over 200 times over those 38 years. During and after the COVID pandemic, I have appeared multiple times for hearings in the Senate and the House, usually under oath, and sat for several days-long transcribed sworn interviews, answering questions about the very issues that are now the subject of this hearing.
What he said so far is probably okay. He's simply, to say I answered all these questions many times in the past is probably okay.
However, given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution.
And this is where he goes off the rails. Because you cannot sit here attacking a state senator, a United States senator, and then say, I'm not going to answer any of your questions.
His repeated slanderous comments about me.
What was slanderous? You're inviting questions. You can't just attack and then expect you can't answer. You're not going to answer any questions.
And recently, his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me.
And this was a foolish admission. It's an admission that it is his diary. It's an admission that it's his diary. What a stupid thing to admit. Rather than the fact that it was, someone else writing on his behalf. This is insanity. Why would you admit that? Why would you possibly admit that? Maybe someone was ghostwriting for him.
The conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily—
Now you call him unhinged? Obsession? He's trying to ask you questions and you're not going to answer?
come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
So that's his opening statement, basically attacking Paul and saying, I'm not answering. And NY Reno is completely correct here when he says Brown versus Walker case speaks precisely on point to this particular issue. 1896 decision. This case is 130 years old. The opening paragraphs is this provision that no person shall be excused from attending or testifying or from procuring books, papers, tariffs, contracts, or in obedience to subpoena on the ground of the reason of the testimony of the evidence. You can't say that it's going to tend to incriminate me, meaning I have Fifth Amendment because I don't want to incriminate myself. If subject to a penalty of forfeiture, but no person shall be prosecuted or subject to any penalty of forfeiture for any account in any transaction matter. She may testify or produce evidence, documentary or otherwise, before a commission or in being subpoena or any such case proceeding if it affords absolute immunity against prosecution, federal or state, for the offense to which the question relates and deprives the witness of his constitutional right to refuse to answer. You got your pardon. That's what Brown versus Walker is, what Rand Paul is saying. You don't have a right here. You don't have a right. And especially if you come out attacking, you cannot use the Fifth Amendment as a sword and then try using it as a shield. You cannot come out and use your speech as a sword and then use the Fifth Amendment as your shield. So this was a terrible, 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 grievous error. Very foolish and shocking that his lawyers made such a terrible mistake. Rand Paul's right to hit him on it. Whereas Chairman Paul, having overruled the privilege of the Fifth Amendment asserted by Dr. Fauci, directed the witness to answer the questions put to him by the committee in order to provide testimony on matters under consideration. I told you, answer! And warned Dr. Fauci that he may be held in contempt of Congress. And whereas Dr. Fauci continued to refuse to answer questions pertinent to the questions on the inquiry, now therefore, be it, I warned him this was going to happen. I said this was going to happen. We knew this was going to come. There's our last one here. That's not it. So he's saying, be it resolved that pursuant to sections 102 and 104 of the revised statutes, the President of the Senate shall certify the report of the Committee on Homeland Security Affairs and Senate detailing the refusal of Dr. Anthony Fauci to answer questions pertinent to the subject under inquiry. It's the United States. For the District of Columbia. To that end, Dr. Fauci be proceeded against in manner and form provided by law. What does that mean? What does that mean? What's going to happen to him? Well, Fauci, Paul says he's coming after him. Rand Paul says he will send Fauci contempt referral straight to the DOJ if it passes the committee. Senate Homeland Security Chairman Rand Paul said Tuesday that he will send his contempt of Congress recommendation to prosecute Anthony Fauci directly to the Justice Department if the resolution advances out of committee later this week, which I think it will. The vote, which will take place Thursday, comes after Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times. This is reminding me of a song I wrote recently, one that's going to be public tomorrow, which I played for you yesterday, sort of. I play the audio. I actually now have like lyrics. So if you enjoyed the song at all, you probably like it better with the lyrics. During his Senate testimony on his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic last week, which he invoked despite already having presidential pardon, the senator clarified that although Fauci has received a presidential pardon, his refusal to help the Senate is a crime of its own and is not covered under the pardon, which excused any crime committed between 2014 and January 2025. Well, now we're in August 2026, so there's no pardon for that. There ain't no pardon for that. Ain't no pardon for that. We have a law in Congress that if you will not testify and help an investigation, it's called contempt of Congress. It's a felony, Paul said on the Just the News, No Noise TV show. Now the prosecution has to be through the Department of Justice. People get confused sometimes, and online people criticize me sometimes, say, why won't you prosecute him? It's like, well, I don't have prosecutorial power. Paul said he believes he can bypass the full chamber and send the referral to the DOJ directly because the recommendation is not a law and that the referral poses several important questions for a court to decide. The legal question is, can someone plead the Fifth? Can they plead their constitutional right not to incriminate themselves when they've already been given immunity through a pardon? Now, I've addressed this last week when I was talking about how to be fair, right? Because I try approaching this, even though I despise Dr. Fauci, who's clearly a very evil, evil, evil person. If you haven't heard my song yet, it's pretty clear how I feel about Dr. Fauci. He's a very, very evil person who I think is responsible, my personal opinion, is responsible for creating COVID and then destroying the world as best he could in a way that, like, makes him like cartoonishly the Brain from Pinky and the Brain, but more successful than the Brain ever was. So there are arguments for this, and there's some precedents. There are arguments. The question dates back to late 1800s, Supreme Court decision, which held that once a witness has received pardon, he can no longer set up his privilege since he stands with respect to such offense as if it had never been committed. Fifth Amendment protects individuals from being compelled to provide testimony, but it is kind of strange to say like he's invoking his right not to incriminate himself, and in so doing, incriminates himself. But that's what Brown versus Walker says. The privilege exists only when there's a genuine risk that truthful answers could expose the witness to criminal liability. Now, I would argue that pardon sucks, and he also has potentially state liability. But that argument seems to be unavailing in court. That's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is he should not have to answer questions. I think that him opening himself up by blah 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 blah, you're unhinged and you're obsessed with me. That. And you're lying about me. All those statements perhaps vitiated whatever protections he should have had because he was an idiot and had bad legal advice, potentially malpractice type of advice, shockingly terrible advice from a big name firm that should have known better. Supreme Court later added an important qualification in 1915, which held that a pardon is not effective unless it is accepted by its recipient. An individual may reject the pardon in order to preserve the Fifth Amendment privilege, but Fauci accepted it. Fauci's attorneys dispute the narrative that it is illegal for the client to plead the Fifth because Fauci still faces potential criminal exposure arising from future testimony, particularly if prosecutors which allege that statements made under oath during the hearing constituted perjury or false statements. That's pretty insane. So you just tell the truth. That's ridiculous. Saying that they're going to claim that I'm lying, that's insane. That's a crazy position to take. They also argue to be subject to state criminal investigations. That's a better argument, which would be beyond the reach of a presidential pardon. That's a fair argument. That's exactly the point I was making. Paul also noted that he's likely to stop people from getting as powerful as Fauci was, highlighting his long tenure as the head of the NIAID, which made him intimidating to people who needed his approval of projects. He had too much power for too long, Paul said on the show. I think term limits for his position is a good idea, too. Well, what about term limits for senators? Because that would be a nice place to start. Senator added he's tried to pass an amendment in committee that would divide Fauci's previous position. You guys want me to play this song? I feel like I don't want to burden you by playing it a second time, but we'll see. If you guys want me to do it, I'll play a second time. Like the update, not the whole thing, but I'll play a little. I'll give you a little taste of it. So, yeah, my personal take is I do agree with them that his exposure to state charges does remain every bit as present. And that should be a powerful argument, but it doesn't seem to be working when you go to court with that. I don't know why. It should work, but it doesn't. Thank you, KB. Appreciate you. Brown versus Walker, Fifth Amendment. It's not permitted despite a perjury trap. It's pretty on point. Were any of Fauci's lawyers criminal defense lawyers or all civil practice? Oh, they were. They even, one of them was called out as being like the if you're in deep crap type of lawyer, like really well known for getting people out of deep crap. Criminal defense lawyers would know a defendant can't start testifying then invoke the Fifth. Was Fauci under oath when he read his statement? I don't know. I don't think that really changes much. Is each individual refusal to answer a separate count of contempt? I don't think so. It's a good question, but I don't think it would. I don't think it would be read that way. It would just be in general he's not answering. It's not going to be 111 counts. I'd be very surprised if it is. If it's viewed that way. W. Fauci authenticated his own diary. It's a despicable document where he chronicles his and his assistant's many violations of federal law. I actually quote from it in my song. I'm going to be landing my plane over here. I would certainly, the vote, I should tell you before we close out here, is
could seek
that the vote for whether to pass this resolution is coming on Thursday. Just 2 days is when we're going to see that coming up for a vote. I think it's a good chance of passing.
Senator Rand Paul is moving forward with a committee vote on whether to hold former COVID advisor Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress. Fauci recently refused to answer questions from Paul's Senate committee, citing his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. If the resolution passes, Paul could seek a full Senate vote or refer the matter to the Justice Department or pursue other legal options. Legal experts say the process is complicated and questions remain over whether some of those approaches are even allowed, Politico has reported. Any potential prosecution would ultimately be handled by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., which would have discretion over whether to proceed. And while you're here, don't forget.
So there you go. It's coming Thursday. Coming Thursday. And he said he is going to bypass the full Senate and just refer it directly to the DOJ if it passes. I think he means it. Whether the DOJ will do anything, that's the next question. Off topic, the DSA wanted to eliminate the Senate and the presidency. That would require a change in the Constitution, right? Pretty sure that's a yes. 100%. They admit they want to rip up the Constitution. They hate the Constitution. They hate the Electoral College. They hate the presidency. They hate the Senate. They hate the Supreme Court. They hate everything about the Constitution. The only thing they like is the House. So, yeah, they're communists. They want to destroy the Constitution. Everything this country stands for, they just basically want to rip to shreds. Vote for us. We hate it. We hate everything here. Vote for us. One last thing I'll give you before I get out of here, in case you haven't heard. Todd Blanche has advanced out of the Senate Judiciary Committee and now heads the full Senate for confirmation. The vote was 12-10 along party lines. A huge hurdle has been overcome after Cornyn and Tillis were being difficult. They'll likely be confirmed this week, although Susan Collins has said she will vote against it. Quick report here.
They just voted 12-10, 12 Republicans, all Republicans voted to advance Todd Blanche's nomination to the full Senate floor.
I'm very lukewarm on Todd Blanche. Very, very, very lukewarm on him.
Which will happen later this week. So Todd Blanche has now advanced out of committee to become the Attorney General. He still needs to go to the full Senate floor. That will happen later this week. But
the jury's still out on this prosecutor.
You know, no major fireworks today. All Democrats opposed this nomination. All Republicans voted yes for this nomination. We heard a lot about the controversial $1.8 billion taxpayer fund that Todd Blanche said no longer exists anymore, that would go to people who feel that they are victims of government weaponization. That was something the Democrats brought up over and over again, saying it could be changed names, it could come up again in a different way. But ultimately, it was Tom Tillis from North Carolina and John Cornyn from Texas who, after about a week or so of back and forth with Todd Blanche, decided that they would vote for Todd Blanche. So Todd Blanche gets a favorable nomination out of the Judiciary Committee, 12-10, all Republicans voting yes. And now this will go to the full Senate floor, where he is expected to be committed or expected to be confirmed, not committed, confirmed later this week, given that Tillis and Cornyn are now on board with this.
But this went really quickly after Cornyn and Tillis. It was
because they were the whole holdup. What do you mean really quickly? No one else had a problem with him other than those two morons.
During this hour yesterday, during the Faulkner Focus, that we all learned that they were ready to, put aside or had worked through whatever their exceptions were to push.
We know what their exceptions were. They didn't like the 1776 fund. They didn't like that he cut a deal with Trump because they hate Trump. That's basically what it is. They hate MAGA. They hate Trump. They're very, very spiteful people.
Pushing this forward. So what does this mean overall for Blanche? I mean, there's been a little bit of a pause in all this. The president got involved. Give us a little bit of that part of the story.
Well, Blanche wants to get rid of the acting title and become the full-time Attorney General. It looks like he is poised to do that right now. If Tillis and Cornyn voted against Blanche, President Trump had the option of keeping him in as an acting Attorney General for the rest of his term ending in January 2029. So it's unlikely that Todd Blanche was going to go anywhere. But now the president, if Todd Blanche is confirmed later this week, he will have a Senate confirmed attorney general.
Right, because now he's not yet confirmed. So I do think he's going to be confirmed despite Susan Collins being a doofus. That's yet another reminder that there's little difference between having Susan Collins and they're a Democrat. She's so useless. So utterly, utterly useless. This is a woman who confirmed Merrick Garland. Every Biden appointment she confirmed. Utterly useless. So what makes her different from a Democrat? Did Fauci, the director of NIAID, enjoy the benefit of being provided immunity by the senior executive service? I'm not familiar with there being immunity for that. I don't think that there's immunity for that. Members of the senior executive service, at least according to Brave here, do not automatically receive absolute immunity from civil lawsuits or congressional testimony. And if he did have that, I think he would have invoked that. Good question, though. Very good question. I don't think he had that. Very good question. All right. I'm going to give you a little flavor for what's dropping at 11 o'clock tomorrow. I'm not going to play the whole song. I'm not going to play the whole song. But this is the Fauci song that I created to get a little flavor for it. It's the full song will drop tomorrow at 11. This is the wrong version. One more time. Let's do this again. See how I already know it's the wrong version? Because I had to upload it twice. What happened? Oh, I know what happened. So I uploaded twice. This is the right version.
Dear Diary, 2014. Obama shuts the door. Gain of function banned on American shores. So I packed my bags, took the science east. Wuhan got the lab and the funding lease. We pushed the boundaries, twisted the code. What came out the other side was a natural mode. Call it whatever you want, I still call it mine. I didn't just study the virus, I built the product line. Hey, hey. Dear diary, another day, another stage, another nation turns the page. They hang on every word I say. Tomorrow starts with me today. Flatten the curve, they sing along. 2 weeks to slow the spread becomes the song. Every camera, every screen, the whole world is looking at me. Just trust me, don't ask why. History belongs to the scariest lie. I am the science, that's what they say. Media cameras can't look away. Trust the experts, trust the plan. One more rule for the common man. One more mandate, but not for elites. Funny how the whole world knelt before me. 5,000 million cases, 73 gone was all it took to make a page. One big front page article, the Washington Post, very flattering. My national and international fame is explosive, really unimaginable. I'll sleep well tonight, another headline, another cheer. My star's brighter the more you're in fear. I am the science, that's what they say. Media cameras can't look away. Trust the experts, trust the plan. One more rule for every man, one more mandate, but not for elites. Funny how the whole world knelt before me. The swag around me getting ridiculous, but don't stop now, I'm getting used to this. Bury your nana, give me your thanks. Tell me I'm sexier than Tyra Banks. Not hyperbole, in this whole world there's just a...
So there you go. That's basically dropping tomorrow at 11 a.m. on my channel. I urge you to make sure you sub up so you'll get notification when it pops. I didn't even get to like the main thing, but it's much better, I think, with the lyrics. I think it's much better with the lyrics. So that's going to be dropping tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Hopefully you guys will check it out, give it a thumbs up. That whole thing, maybe share it out. It's got an important message, and it's got a hopeful ending if you haven't heard it yet. So make sure you check that out tomorrow. That's what I got for you tonight. God willing, tomorrow evening, I should be back here with Sin. Until then, I'm going to remind you that lab meat was never, ever, ever meant for you. It's meant for they, them. And also that you should definitely make sure you do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Good night, everyone. As always, Godspeed.
The plane is landing. The show is almost over. All that's left for you is this song. Joe left the studio. He's probably drinking Diet Mountain Dew. Maybe he's watching funny videos on YouTube, or playing chess, or doing Jewy things Jews do. We hope you had fun, and maybe you learned something. You hit like and you subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to show some love. That would be cool. You can be cool. Leaving comments is cool. So till next time, please be sure to stay away from lab meat. It was never meant for you. It's meant for they or them or comrades, sparkle hugs. And most importantly, do not eat Z-bugs. Good night and Godspeed. Good night and Godspeed.